Hello everybody, this is Gary Merzinski and this is Chapter 9, Part B, Chapter 9 of The Microeconomy Today by Schiller and Gebhardt, published by McGraw-Hill. We're talking about the early days of the personal computer market and considering how it could be similar to a purely competitive market in that there were no barriers to entry. It was kind of a standardized product because anybody could purchase the components that made up one of these personal computers and make their own version of it. And so when the Apple I led to the Apple II, which was the first commercially successful mass-produced personal computer, other competitors entered the market. So now we're in the mid-1980s. IBM entered the market, became the biggest producer of personal computers within a few years. Compaq, Dell, still around today. AST, Gateway, some are around, some are not around anymore. Some were purchased by others or merged with other computer companies. So there's been a lot of change over the years. But Mattel and Atari, these were video game console makers that got into the personal computer market. And since the most important components of a personal computer are the microprocessors, this led to expansion in the microprocessor industry as well, leading to market leaders such as Intel, still around today, and the market leader in personal computer microprocessor chips. Motorola, more known for, at the time, mainframe computers, more powerful processors for larger scale computer applications. And Texas Instruments even was making microprocessor chips for PCs. To the left, that is the market supply and demand curve. And over time, since the average firm was profitable, it caused the supply curve to shift to the right because new firms entered the industry. And this brought the market price down over time, from $1,000 per unit to $800 per unit. On the right, this is what the individual firm experiences. Initially, $1,000, you can see what level of output would be produced at $1,000 at the dashed demand curve. Well, where does marginal revenue equal marginal cost? You can see at that intersection, Q is 600, but now the price drops to $800. What happens now? Your profit maximizing level of output has now changed. Now it's 500 units per month, and there's a smaller amount of profit. So each of the firms in this industry are experiencing reduced profits because there's more competition. And then there's further shift of the supply curve in the market on the left as even more firms are entering and producing more. And then on the right, you can see the price drops to $700 from $800, and that reduces the quantity, the profit maximizing level of output now to 430 units per month. Short run versus long run equilibrium on the left, that could be short run equilibrium. It's possible that in the short run, an individual firm could experience profits, and that clearly would be a profitable firm because you can see the demand curve, which is where price comes from. There's a big range of output for which the price is greater than the average total cost. The price curve is above the average total cost curve, and in fact, you would produce Q sub S units per time period to maximize profit, but that's going to be a lot of profit, right? But in the long run, eventually, firms will enter the market, shift the market supply curve to the right, and lower the market price, which makes your demand curve go down to, you can see, the bottom of the U. That is where economic profits equal zero. That will be the long-run equilibrium for the individual firm. It will occur at the bottom of the U, the bottom of the average total cost curve. The Texas Instruments Model 99/4A. I had one of these things. And my parents bought it for me. I was coming out of high school, and I had, in my senior year, I had a programming class in high school, and that was a really new thing at that time, basic programming. And the instructor was our math teacher, who was taking the course at the same time at a college at the same time he was teaching it to us. So it was that new. This was the very first time our high school had a computer lab. And so my parents bought me one of these, and it actually was not very useful. It was a box with buttons on it, and the buttons were the different programming commands you could use. It wasn't a keyboard, and I guess they were trying to make it user-friendly, but it was awkward to use. It was not successful at all, and you can see the plummeting price. This just happened to be one of the products that was not well designed. My parents bought it for me at $99, I believe. So this must have been, based on this graphic, September 1983. Eventually, they liquidated. They had no idea that this product was going out of business, and they ended up liquidating a short time later at $49 per unit. So this was a Christmas present, and this is all coming back to me now. This would have been Christmas 1983. If they just waited another month, they could have got it for half price. So here are the rules for entry and exit into the market. Firms will enter the industry, if the price is greater than average total cost for the individual firm, for the average firm, because the average firm is profitable. If the price is less than average total cost for the individual firm, the average firm, firms will exit. This will make the price go up. Eventually, the price will settle where price is exactly equal to average total cost. And again, that's going to happen at the bottom of the U. And so it's a break-even scenario for the individual firm. But again, don't feel bad for them, because they are enjoying a normal profit. The entrepreneur is being compensated for his or her entrepreneurial skill and risk-taking and use of his or her own resources. And so that's why you should not feel bad about economic profits equal to zero. Of course, economic profits greater than zero is a better situation, but still you will produce even if economic profits are equal to zero. So then what might happen, or what might an individual firm do if economic profits are zero? You can improve your profit situation by finding some way to lower your costs, lower your production costs. Think of some new innovative process to use, or improve your production flow. Find some new automation maybe that can help you to lower your costs. If you're successful in doing that, then your average total cost curve, which might have been the dashed U-shaped curve, would become the solid U-shaped curve. It goes lower on the graph, which makes your marginal cost curve move. And of course, changes the level of output you might be producing then. Remember that for any individual firm, if the price were to drop below your average variable cost, that's your shutdown price, you will shut down, because now you're not covering your variable costs. Texas Instruments found themselves in that situation, and they ended up shutting down and then dumping their inventory. So they weren't producing, they were just getting rid of their built-up inventory at a reduced rate of $49. But this affects the market price that other firms are competing with if people are willing to buy these units for $49. And then they got out of the market. That was their method for exiting the market. You liquidate your inventory and move on to producing some other products. When the average firm is profitable in a market, and then that attracts other firms to enter the market and start producing that product, increasing competition, it drives down the price of the product. That's good for society. That forces the sellers who are competing with each other to find ways to improve their products, to add features, to look to lower their costs. This is all good for, this is what's known as, lowering costs is what's known as productive efficiency. This is the market mechanism at work. This is a good thing for society. If the price of the product is greater than the average total cost of the product, that means the value of the product to the customer, that's price, is greater than the opportunity cost of the resources used to produce the product, that's average total cost. That's a signal that Society wants more of that product. Producers then will respond by producing more of it. And of course, that again brings down the market price. That is allocative efficiency. Allocative efficiency, one more time to remind you, bigger picture, applies to the whole economy or markets within the economy. That's when resources flow out of less profitable markets into more profitable markets. Why would that happen? Well, they're attracted into more profitable markets because consumers want more of that product, and that makes the price be high relative to the average total cost to produce that product. So as the productive resources flow into that more profitable market, it drives down the market price, again, good for society, and then resources stop flowing into that new market. And they'll stay in that market producing that product until they're attracted into some other market, which is very profitable. What would make that other market very profitable? If consumers want more of that product. This is all in response to consumer demand. This is allocative efficiency when this is allowed to happen in your economy. The market system economy facilitates allocative efficiency. This is the other side of the coin. If economic profits are negative, that means the price is less than the opportunity cost of the resources to produce the product, which is average total cost. That's a signal that society wants less of that product, fewer units. And so, since profit is the objective, producers will respond by producing less of it. Some will stop producing it altogether. This is also allocative efficiency. Productive resources, which is workers, capital, everything flows out of this market into other markets and start producing other things. This is also allocative efficiency. So the pure competition as a market structure will result in the most allocative efficiency. Productive efficiency, remember, this is if producers are producing at the lowest possible per unit cost. The more competition there is, the more pressure there is to do this, to lower your production costs. What's the best you can do? Well, the best you can do is to be at the bottom of the U, right? The bottom of the U-shaped average total cost curve. This will happen for the individual firm in pure competition. This is the ultimate, the supreme productive efficiency is to be at the bottom of the U exactly. And this is zero economic profit when this happens. Price is equal to average total cost. But again, don't fret because the individual firms are experiencing a normal profit. So the owners of the firm, the entrepreneurs, are being compensated for their ownership and their risk-taking and their use of their own resources, including their entrepreneurial skill. They are earning a normal profit. That is being considered an implicit cost when we compute economic profit. There is an accounting profit, a positive accounting profit, when economic profit is zero. So again, productive efficiency is when the individual firms are producing at the lowest possible per unit cost, or as low as possible. The best you can do is the bottom of the U. That's why this market structure will have the most productive efficiency. These next two slides are summarizing everything we've already talked about, the sequence of events. If prices are high in a market, that means the individual firms are profitable. That signals that consumers want more for that product. That's how prices got high to begin with. That will attract new sellers. New sellers enter the market. That shifts the market supply curve to the right. That makes the price go down. Then for the individual firms, that reduces their profit. The price eventually will reach a point where economic profit is equal to zero, and then firms will stop entering in the industry at that point. And the firms that are in the industry will try to find ways to improve the quality of their product, lower their production costs to improve their profit situation. This graph shows you from left to right how this causes a shift. This is the market now. So look at the U to the left, the U-shaped curve, average total cost in the market, and the market marginal cost curve, which is the market supply curve, right? So as firms enter, that shifts that market supply curve to the right. So now, and it also shifts the average total cost curve with it. As that happens, we go from point A as equilibrium and total output per time period in the market to point C. And costs come down, price comes down, everything is better for the consumer. So that is Chapter 9. And our next couple of chapters, we're going to look at the other market structures. So this was pure competition. This is the best for society. This is the most productive efficiency, the most allocative efficiency you can have. But there's also monopoly, oligopoly, and monopolistic competition. Those are the next 3 chapters in that order. Chapter 10 is monopoly. That's the worst situation for society in general. Then oligopoly is there's more than one seller, but there's only a couple that have most of the market share. That's oligopoly. That's not quite as bad for the consumer as monopoly is, but it's still not great. Monopolistic competition is where there's lots of competition, but not so much competition that it would be considered pure competition. And we're going to do those chapters 10, 11, and 12 in that order. So I'll see you in chapter 10.